Over the last 60 years, Hollywood have quietly buried some of the greatest sci-fi films ever made. They fired directors mid-shoot, shelved finished movies for decades, and rewired what audiences expected forever. For a brief moment, they flashed giant blockbusters onto the screen. Dazzling visuals took over, and suddenly, anything slower, darker, or deeper got pushed aside. Here's what nobody tells you about the blockbuster boom. When Jaws changed everything in 1975, when Star Wars rewrote the rules in 1977, Hollywood didn't just get bigger, it got narrower. Every single one of these 10 films that challenged you started disappearing. One project was hit by a real-life tragedy during production. Another one was released the same summer as E.T. It made absolutely nothing, while E.T. made over $800 million. In this video, we're digging up 10 hardest sci-fi movies that got lost in the blockbuster boom. And trust me, by the time we reach number 1, you will understand why the movie is labeled the most unfairly hated masterpiece in sci-fi history. Number 10. Enemy Mine, 1985. The blockbuster era is in full swing. Everyone is chasing Star Wars. Everyone is chasing Spielberg. Hollywood is throwing explosions, aliens, and laser battles at the screen as fast as they possibly can because that's what sells. And then, Enemy Mine walks in. Quietly, carefully, with something Hollywood had completely forgotten about in its race for the next special effect. Here's the setup. A human fighter pilot named Willis Davidge, played by Dennis Quaid, crashes on a desolate, brutal, uninhabitable alien planet. No rescue coming, no backup, no hope. But he's not alone, because on that same planet, stranded on that same rock, dying in that same hostile wasteland, is the alien pilot who was trying to kill him 20 minutes ago. And now these two enemies, or simply put, these two soldiers programmed to destroy each other, have exactly one choice: work together or die alone. At this point in the video, you might be thinking, okay, that sounds like a cool action movie. Two guys fighting aliens, surviving the wilderness, classic 80s stuff. But that is not what this movie is. Not even close. Because Enemy Mine doesn't care about action. It doesn't care about laser battles or spaceship dogfights or alien invasions.
What do you think you are, huh? Oh! Got any time at home?
It uses all of that as a wrapper to ask one of the most uncomfortable questions a movie has ever asked its audience. And that's exactly why so many people got it wrong. When the film was released, audiences walked in expecting action, conflict, something fast, familiar, easy to follow. Instead, they got a story that slows down just when you expect it to speed up. And that threw people off. Even the production itself was already struggling behind the scenes. The original director was replaced midway through filming, which led to delays, reshoots, and a final product that didn't fit neatly into any category. Studios didn't know how to market it. Was it action? Drama? Sci-fi? It tried to be all of them, and in doing so, it confused everyone. And in an era dominated by bigger, louder, and faster films, that choice buried it. But that wasn't the whole story, because the next film on this list didn't just challenge audiences, it completely unsettled them. Number 9. The Thing, 1982. When this movie hit theaters, audiences weren't just uninterested, they were uncomfortable. Same window as E.T., but while one film showed a friendly alien you could love, this one showed something you couldn't even understand. And that contrast buried it instantly. A dog runs across a frozen wasteland, chased by a helicopter. No context, no explanation, just a man leaning out the side, firing a rifle like his life depends on it. The animal doesn't fight back, it just runs, confused, desperate. Moments later, the helicopter crashes, the men are gone, and the dog keeps walking. It finds its way into an isolated research station where a group of scientists take it in without a second thought. Out here, in the middle of nowhere, a dog is the last thing anyone would question. That's the mistake. At first, everything feels normal. The men go about their routine, cards, meals, quiet conversations. The kind of slow, uneventful life you'd expect in a place like this. Then something breaks. The dog isn't a dog. It changes, violently, unnaturally. Not into something new, but into something that was always there, hiding underneath. Flesh twists, Shapes collapse and rebuild. And just like that, the illusion is gone. But the real horror hasn't even started yet, because what they're dealing with doesn't just kill, it replaces. The Thing deserved its recognition in 1982, in those original reviews, in those theater seats that should have been full every single night of its opening run. It deserved to win that summer. Instead, the blockbuster boom decided that audiences wanted warmth, safety, simple questions with beautiful answers, aliens who came in peace, stories that sent you home feeling better about the universe than you did when you walked in. And The Thing offered none of that. There's no clear victory, no reassurance, no moment where everything makes sense again. Even the ending refuses to give you certainty. And the next movie on this list even took that uncertainty into somewhere deeper. Number 8, Forbidden Planet, 1956. A monster you can't see, built from a part of your mind you can't control. That's the premise of Forbidden Planet, and Hollywood has been stealing from it for 70 years without ever matching what it actually accomplished. Commander Adams and his crew arrive on Altair 4 to find Dr. Morbius living alone with his daughter and a robot more advanced than anything humanity has ever built. Beneath the planet's surface lies the technology of the Krell, a civilization millions of years ahead of us that built a machine capable of turning pure thought into physical reality. No limits, no restrictions. And then, in a single night, they were all destroyed. Every last one of them is gone at the peak of their power. Now here's where this film does something no science fiction movie had ever done before. The invisible monster killing the crew at night isn't alien, it's Morbius. His subconscious mind connected to the Krell machine is creating a creature from every suppressed rage and jealousy and primitive instinct he doesn't even know he has. The technology works perfectly, and that's exactly the problem. The Krell weren't destroyed by an enemy or a malfunction. They were destroyed by their own unexamined minds given unlimited power. 1,000,000 years of evolution suppressed their darkest impulses but never eliminated them, and the machine gave those impulses physical form. Back when it was released, even Gene Roddenberry admitted this film directly inspired Star Trek. It featured the first fully electronic score in cinema history, the first science fiction film set entirely on another alien world. But when the blockbuster boom hit, studios took the surface of movies like this, the ships, the robots, the alien planets, and stripped away the thing that made them dangerous.
It's coming on again!
Straight across.
The idea that the real frontier isn't outer space, it's the parts of your own psychology you refuse to examine. And because Forbidden Planet looks like a 1950s B-movie, people assume that's all it is, and that's exactly why it got overshadowed. But if this film explored the darkness hidden inside the human mind, the next one stripped sci-fi down even further and barely looked like sci-fi at all. Number 7, Strange Days, 1995. What if you could literally live inside someone else's experience, not watch it, not imagine it, actually feel every sensation, see through their eyes, inhabit their consciousness completely? That's the technology at the center of Strange Days, and in 1995, audiences weren't ready to hear what this film was screaming at them. Catherine Bigelow directed this with a script from James Cameron, and what they created together is one of the most disturbingly prophetic science fiction films ever made. Lenny Nero is a former cop turned street dealer selling illegal recordings called clips. These aren't videos, they're complete neural experiences recorded directly from someone's cerebral cortex and played back through a device called a squid. You don't watch the clip, you become the person who recorded it. Every touch, every emotion, every adrenaline rush transferred directly into your brain.
You motherfucker, come here! Come in with me! Come in! Look!
Lenny deals in other people's lives because he can't face his own, and he keeps replaying recordings of his ex-girlfriend like a junkie who can't quit his own memories. But then a clip surfaces that changes everything. A recording of 2 corrupt LAPD officers executing a prominent rapper and activist. Actual murder experience from the victim's perspective. The blockbuster boom had no room for this. It was too intense, too chaotic, and too real in ways that felt unsettling. It didn't fit neatly into action or traditional sci-fi. The film made $28 million against a $42 million budget and disappeared. And if Strange Days explored how technology can reshape human experience, The next movie on this list traps its characters inside a world where control is absolute and even your thoughts don't belong to you anymore. Number 6. Brazil, 1985. A man is arrested, tortured, and killed because of a typo. A literal bug falls into a printer, changes one letter in a name, and an innocent person is dragged from his family and destroyed by a bureaucratic machine that cannot admit it made a mistake. That's how Brazil opens, and it only gets more terrifyingly relevant from there. Terry Gilliam built a world that looks like the 1940s and the future collided in a fever dream. Ducks and pipes crawl across every surface like mechanical parasites. Every wall is covered in forms and permits. Technology exists everywhere, but nothing actually works properly, and nobody seems to notice or care because the paperwork says everything is functioning as intended. Sam Lowry is a low-level government clerk who dreams of flying through clouds as a winged hero, rescuing a beautiful woman from the darkness. In his waking life, he does nothing. He wants nothing. He is the perfect citizen of a system that rewards compliance with the privilege of being ignored. But then he finds the woman from his dreams in real life, and she's connected to the man who was wrongfully arrested. Suddenly, Sam has a reason to push against the machine, and the machine pushes back with the full weight of institutional indifference. Not malice. That's what makes Brazil so much more disturbing than Orwell's 1984, which Gilliam was deliberately responding to. There's no big brother here. There's no evil mastermind. There's just a process. Even though Universal Studios fought Gilliam over the ending and tried to release a version where Sam is rescued and lives happily ever after, completely gutting the entire point of the film. Gilliam fought back publicly and won, but the damage was done. The blockbuster boom needed you to believe that one brave person could defeat the system. Brazil says the system doesn't even know your name, and it will process you with the same indifference whether you fight or comply. And if this film revealed a world where systems control your life, the next one goes even deeper, into a place where reality itself can be rewritten. Number 5. Dark City, 1998. The blockbuster boom needed liberation to feel like victory. Dark City had the audacity to suggest that understanding your cage and decorating it differently are not the same thing as being free. John Murdoch is being hunted for murders he can't remember committing by pale, expressionless figures in black coats who can stop time with a thought. The police are closing in. His wife doesn't recognize the man she married anymore. And at midnight, every single night, without fail, the entire city freezes, every living soul suspended mid-breath, while these figures move through the streets, reshuffling reality like a deck of cards. Buildings transformed, neighborhoods changed. Nobody knows it's happening. Nobody except Murdoch, because something went wrong during his last imprint and he woke up too early. And what he discovers is that the city has no outside. No roads leading anywhere. No countryside beyond the last street. Just darkness. And above that darkness, a ceiling. Because this isn't a city. It's a laboratory. And humanity is the experiment. 3 months after this film was released, The Matrix arrived and absorbed all the oxygen in the room. Dark City, which explored many of those same ideas in a darker, more abstract way, was quickly overshadowed. And for a while, it faded. But the people who went back to it saw something different. A film that didn't just use sci-fi as a backdrop, but as a tool to explore something deeper. Number 4. Seconds, 1966. A middle-aged banker gets a phone call from a friend who died last year. The dead man says he's not dead, he's been reborn. New face, new body, new life. And the same people who did it for him can do it for you. That's how Seconds begins, and it is one of the most suffocating films ever made. Arthur Hamilton hates his life. Not dramatically, not violently. He hates it the way most people hate theirs, quietly, with resignation, going through motions that stopped meaning anything decades ago. His marriage is hollow. His career is pointless. His house is a museum of choices he made for other people. So when a shadowy organization called The Company offers him a second chance at life through radical surgery, a faked death, and a completely new identity, he says yes.
To the rather extensive cosmetic renovation by way of plastic surgery for you.
John Frankenheimer shot seconds with distorted wide-angle lenses that make every room feel like a trap closing in. Faces stretch at the edges, ceilings press down. The camera moves like paranoia feels, always slightly wrong, always suggesting that the walls know something you don't. James Wong Howe's cinematography even earned an Oscar nomination, and it deserved to win, because every frame feels like a man drowning in air. What makes Seconds so powerful is how grounded it feels. There are no futuristic cities or advanced machines dominating the story. The science fiction element sits quietly in the background, while the real focus stays on identity, regret, and the illusion of escape. The film doesn't rush. It lets you sit with the discomfort as Arthur, now Tony, slowly realizes that changing everything about your life doesn't guarantee happiness. In fact, it might strip away the last pieces of who you really are. Number 3. Solaris, 1972. It begins with a mission that sounds simple on paper, but feels uneasy from the start. A psychologist named Chris Kelvin is sent to a space station orbiting a distant planet called Solaris. The crew has stopped communicating clearly. Reports are vague, fragmented, almost incoherent. Something is wrong up there, but no one can explain what it is. So Kelvin is sent to evaluate the situation, to bring logic into a place where it's starting to break down. The moment he arrives, nothing feels right. That's Solaris. Andrei Tarkovsky's response to 2001: A Space Odyssey, and the most emotionally devastating science fiction film ever made. Where Kubrick looked outward at evolution and transcendence, Tarkovsky looked inward at grief and guilt, and asked a question that no amount of technology will ever answer. If the thing you lost comes back but isn't exactly what you lost, do you embrace it or destroy it? Chris Kelvin arrives at a research station orbiting the ocean, planet Solaris, to find the crew falling apart. One scientist has locked himself in his lab, another has killed himself. The third speaks in riddles and warnings.
Послушайте, теперь нас трое с Сарториусом.
The ocean below is alive. Not alive the way we understand life. Alive in a way that is so fundamentally alien that decades of human research have produced nothing but confusion. There's no clear explanation for what Solaris wants, no resolution that ties everything together. The film moves slowly, deliberately, letting each moment sit and breathe. It asks questions without rushing to answer them, and that made it to be overlooked. And if this film explored memory and emotion at its deepest level, the next one pushes even further, into a world where humanity itself becomes uncertain. Number 2. Ghost in the Shell, 1995. Mamoru Oshii directed this with a patience that blockbusters would never tolerate. Long sequences of the Major diving through water in silence, cityscapes reflected in rain, bodies assembled in, factories with the tenderness of a birth scene. The film breathes in the spaces between action, and those spaces are where the actual movie lives. The story follows the Major as she tracks a mysterious entity known as the Puppet Master, a hacker capable of entering people's minds, rewriting memories, and controlling actions without leaving a trace. Victims don't even know they've been manipulated. They believe their thoughts are their own, until they're not. Ghost in the Shell takes place in a future where the line between human and machine has been erased so completely that the distinction has become meaningless. People swap bodies like clothing. Memories can be hacked, rewritten, or manufactured wholesale. Your eyes might be cameras, your arms might be weapons, your brain might be running software you didn't install, and the terrifying part is you would never know. The Major works for Section 9, a covert government unit hunting a mysterious hacker called the Puppet Master, who can infiltrate human minds and rewrite identities from the inside. People wake up with memories of families that don't exist, skills they never learned, entire lives that were inserted like code into wetware they assumed was sacred. The world becomes quieter, slower, more reflective. Scenes linger. Dialogue becomes heavier. Instead of pushing forward, the story pulls inward, forcing both the character and the viewer to sit with uncomfortable questions.
You haven't changed a bit, Superintendent General Dido. Pleased to meet you, but you already know who I am.
And that's exactly what made it difficult for audiences when it was first released. On top of that, it didn't have the global reach it deserved initially. While it found an audience in certain circles, it took years before it was fully recognized outside of them. Number 1. Blade Runner, 1982. A man whose job is killing things that aren't human slowly realizes he might not be human either, and the film never tells you whether he is or isn't. 42 years later, we're still arguing about it, and that's exactly the point. Blade Runner opened 2 weeks after E.T., and the world chose the friendly alien over the most important science fiction film ever made. Ridley Scott built a Los Angeles of 2019, drowning in acid rain, neon advertisements, and perpetual darkness, where corporations have become gods, and their greatest creation is the replicant. Artificial humans are so perfect, so capable, so alive that the only way to identify them is a psychological test that measures emotional response. Think about that. The machine is detected not by what it can't do, but by what it feels too much. Rick Deckard is pulled out of retirement to hunt 4 replicants who have escaped an off-world colony and returned to Earth looking for their creator.
On an unarmed opponent. I thought you were supposed to be good.
They want more life. Not power, not revenge, more life. Roy Batty, their leader, is stronger, faster, and more intelligent than any human, and he has 4 years to live because that's what Tyrell Corporation decided was safe. A built-in expiration date on a sentient being because unlimited life in a slave might lead to uncomfortable questions about what slavery actually means. Blade Runner wasn't behind its time, it was ahead of it. The ideas it explored, artificial intelligence, manufactured identity, implanted memories, have only become more relevant. The world it built no longer feels distant. In some ways, it feels closer than ever. Today, it's not just respected, it's studied, referenced, revisited again and again. And that's what makes it the perfect number 1. A film that didn't just get lost in the noise of bigger, louder blockbusters, but quietly waited. So now I want to know from you, which of these movies surprised you the most? And more importantly, which one do you think deserved better when it first came out? Drop your answer in the comments because some of the best recommendations always come from you guys. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Vintacine Vault for more deep dives into forgotten movies, buried classics, and the stories Hollywood left behind.